The Nigerian Senate has passed the 2023 to 2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. The approval follows the adoption of recommendations made by its Joint Committee on Finance, National Planning and Economic Affairs. However, lawmakers were divided over one of the committee's recommendations that suggests the cost of subsidy be capped at 1.7 trillion naira, which is less than the 3.6 trillion naira initially proposed by the executive. And here's the report.
The passage of the 2023-2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper is part of readiness for the presentation of the 2023 appropriation bill by President Muhammadu Buhari on Friday. At Wednesday's plenary, the Senate considered a report by its Joint Committee on the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. Among its recommendations, the committee suggests that the cost of petroleum subsidy be put at 1.7 trillion naira, different from the 3.6 trillion naira earlier proposed by the executive.
We are covered between January and beyond for the year. We are not saying that we are stopping subsidy and that from January to no, we are not. Because what was contained in my earlier recommendation was contained in scenario 2. In scenario 1, what was provided for subsidy is 6.72 trillion. While in scenario 2, what was contained in the subsidy which was brought was 3.38 trillion.
However, lawmakers strongly kicked against this recommendation, arguing that it is not visible and should be reversed to the original figure.
The committee recommends scenario 2 that we are to sustain oil subsidy from January to June. On that note, Mr. President, we need 3.6 billion to fund the subsidy. However, the committee went further to recommend 1.7 with a difference of 1.9 trillion on the component of oil subsidy. Mr. President, with this, we are going to run into crisis of where to source the sum of 1.9 trillion to fund our subsidy from January to June.
We are capping our exchange rate to 437. Today, we all know that dollar is 740 or probably 50. And then this is what we are capping. And this thing will go down to the budget and budgetary process to buying into the market. It is just showing that we are building our house on a false foundation.
The third scenario in this whole document should include how are we going to improve our revenue. We must improve revenue. So I would say that the parameters for this MTEF is wrong. Because if we don't improve our revenue, I mean, today Nigerians can't travel. If you want to buy a ticket, the airlines are collecting foreign currency. Yet you can't get it. So you're talking about exchange rate at 439. That's wrong.
After much debate, the Senate adopted the recommendation as amended after being put to a voice vote. In view of these current realities, the oil benchmark is pegged at $70 per barrel, daily crude oil production at 1.69 metric tons per day, and the exchange rate at 435 naira to a dollar. Similarly, the federal government retained revenue stand at 8.46 trillion naira, GDP rate at 3.75%, and inflation growth rate at 17.16%.
This is a very serious issue. We are in a very difficult and challenging economic situation. And the Parliament is supposed to provide some ways out. And some of the recommendations are very far-reaching. And I believe that we need to look at them, and where we find them to be likely to be salubrious, to have positive impact on our economy and the lives of our people, we should not shy away from adopting them.
The Senate further recommended a comprehensive review of the waiver policy to ensure that only companies engaged in manufacturing and production are granted such waivers. Rashidat Yusuf, Viewer Television News, Abuja.